Our first talk tonight is going to be from one of those panelists. Amy Kaiser is the district conservationist for the NRCS, and she's going to be talking about agricultural lands tonight, best conservation practices in those landscapes, and then she'll give a second presentation just kind of highlighting some of those specific programs that NRCS currently has going that are incentives that some of you may be good matches for. So hopefully we can connect you with NRCS and Amy as well.
This is the Agricultural Lands Plan for Your Land workshop series. I'm Amy Kaiser, and I work for the Natural Resource Conservation Service, an agency within the United States Department of Agriculture. And NRCS is non-regulatory. We do follow policy and Oregon laws and federal laws, but for the most part, we don't turn people in to get people in trouble or anything like that. So I just want to make that clear. So I'm the district conservationist for Lynn and Benton counties. I've worked for the NRCS for 15 years. I spent the first half in Montana and the second half here in Oregon. And I've really enjoyed working in the Willamette Valley with all these different partners and landowners that are just so awesome to work with. So also wanted to introduce Lexi Gardner. She's the soil conservationist. She's got a lot of spunk and she's great to work with. So if you have any questions or want to come in and talk about programs or anything, myself and Lexi are the two people that you'd want to contact, and I put my contact information here, and this is Lexi's. So from what I've seen in the past 3 days, or past meetings, is that people are putting together their planning for their land, and there's a 9-step process. And so basically, I'm looking at steps 1 through 4, where when I identify problems on your land, determine what you want to do once you determine what problems you have, and then inventory those resources, like with soils maps and soil testing, and then analyze that resource data. And then you'll move on to 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 further down the road. So what is a resource concern? A resource concern is defined as an expected degradation of soil, water, air, plant, or animal resource base to an extent that the sustainability or intended use of the resource is impaired. So ag lands are just not cropland. Ag land includes cropland, pasture, grazing land, and non-industrial private forest land. And it's, those are the major land uses in the United States, and those are the land uses receiving the majority of conservation treatment to address soil, water, air, plants, and animal resources. So let's go to next. So you might wonder, how do I know if I have a resource concern on my property? And so I kind of laid out the 4 main resource concerns: soil, water, plants, and animals that we have here in Lynn and Benton counties. And, some questions that I get often for soil, or, to get your mind thinking about planning for your land would be, are the winter rains causing erosion on cropland or pasture? Do you have bank erosion along creeks or streams? And are your confined animals creating compacted soil near water troughs or entry gates. Some concerns if you have for water would be maybe you're overwatering your hazelnut orchard with a big gun or sprinkler system. And, to be more water efficient, micro drip irrigation is an option for conservation. Another question is your confined livestock damaging nearby water sources with manure runoff? Sometimes you don't even notice that, but it can go into the irrigation ditch. It can go into your neighbor's lot. So these are all questions you kind of want to ask yourself just to get the thought process going. Another one is, do you have elevated water temperature in your fish passages? So some ideas would be to plant more trees or shrubbery around or along the banks so that it provides shade to reduce that elevated water temperature. Plants, are you concerned about wildfire hazards? That would be a concern that we've had in this past fall. Do you have healthy, productive forests? Are weeds such as blackberries taking over your land? For animals, do you want to increase wildlife habitat on your property? Do you want to increase aquatic habitat for fish and amphibians? And do you want to increase forage quality and quantity on your pasture for livestock? So here's a couple pictures of some things that I was just talking about. Here are some horses, and this is in Benton and Lynn counties. Some horses that are, eroding this area just by, being confined in that area. So there's no vegetation growing in this area, which could cause some really bad events in the wintertime. This is a forested woodland property. As you can see, it is really overgrown. This is a hazelnut orchard being watered by a big gun. And then we have a crop field here with gully erosion occurring. So once you identify those resource concerns on your property, we have this scientific background to assist with, putting a conservation practice on the ground to help with that resource concern. And so a conservation practice is a practice defined as land treatment techniques designed to conserve, enhance, protect soil, water, vegetation, and other natural resources. And here we have Hugh Hammond Bennett. He is the founder of the Soil Conservation Service, which is now called the Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so we work hand in hand with the Soil and Water Conservation District, to put these conservation efforts on the ground. So the first conservation practice I'm going to talk about is conservation cover, which is establishing and maintaining vegetative cover. I don't know if I have questions or anything, I can't see, but I'll just keep going. Okay. So conservation cover, is used in various ways. The one in this picture is used in between the rows of this winery. And it just provides, a short permanent grass cover that, stabilizes erosion that could be occurring. And then it also helps maintain the weeds that might be coming up in that area. And I have really great resources on, planning ahead and technical notes and maintenance for these type of things. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I can send you all of these resources. The next conservation practice is cover crop. And this is grasses, legumes, forbs, and other herbaceous plants established for seasonal cover and conservation. And so that could be anything like annual ryegrass, cereal rye, oats, winter wheat, and it just protects the ground from wind and water erosion during times when land is not adequately protected against soil erosion. So if you have a summer crop and then you harvest and you don't have anything on in the winter, you're going to want to cover that ground to prevent wind or water erosion. The next one is crop rotation, and it's changing the crops grown in a field, usually season by season. And this improves soil health and provides crop benefits over the length of the rotation. Examples might entail broccoli, winter wheat, and sweet corn rotation, a wheat, alfalfa, potato rotation, or a grass seed and small grain rotation. I know when I worked up in Montana, we had wheat growers, year after year planting the same crop, and they would start to get diseases in the roots of the crop. And so, the best way to do that is to break up that yearly annual cropping and with a conservation crop rotation. So here we have forest management, and these are activities to improve the quality and quantity of forest stock and to maintain ground cover for soil and water conservation. So this is dedicated to timber production, but it's non-industrial private forest land. And so the optimum tree populations are determined by the types of tree, the growth rate, and adaptability to the soils. Existing and newly planted trees are thinned, pruned, or harvested to maintain desired production. And twigs, limbs, and other debris are managed to minimize fire danger, maintain ground cover, and reduce soil erosion. And it also provides a wildlife habitat, for various amount of species. And then as the trees mature, they're harvested and then replacements are established following ODF's Forest Practices Act. Another conservation practice is grazing management. Management of grazing operations to maximize production and improve grazing lands. So grazing land is divided into 2 or more units with fencing. Livestock are moved on a schedule from unit to unit based on forage availability and livestock and plant needs. Irrigation and water management. So irrigation systems are designed to apply water uniformly to a wide variety of crops under a wide range of conditions. And associated irrigation water management plans are developed for effective and efficient systems operating throughout the irrigation season. So this is used when you want to improve the crop production and quality. It improves control and efficiency of water use, especially when water supplies are limited. And it lowers energy requirements for pumps, reduces soil erosion on irrigated fields, and improves control of water. Nutrient management. So crop nutrients are determined after taking a soils test. and setting realistic goals and taking credit for contributions from previous year's crops and manure applications. Nutrients are then applied at the proper rate and time by the proper application method. And nutrient sources include animal waste, commercial fertilizer, and compost. These steps reduce the potential for nutrients to go unused and run off or infiltrate into water supply.
Hey, Amy, we did have a question pop up in the chat. If you don't mind, it's on your previous slide, forest management. Greg was asking, what does managing forest floor debris like branches and thin stems look like in practice?
Like a before and after picture?
Yeah, or describing the practice, I guess, if you don't happen to have sort of a picture of it.
It can be a variety of things. It can be a woodland that is overrun by blackberries and invasive weeds. And so we offer cost share assistance and technical assistance to help you work out a priority plan. So for year one, you would be going in to that area and doing a thinning or a pruning of the trees, and then also probably a mowing on the blackberries. And then year two, you would come back in and pile those the wood that you took down for either burning or biochar or chipping and hauling off site. There's a lot of options there, but so you would pile the wood. And then for the blackberries, you could come in and chemically spray those sites to control the blackberries. And if it's needed, we also cost share out a 3-year, spray for that type of thing. Those are the main issues, but there are some other options that if you want to be more specific, I can help you out.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah. I think I went through nutrient management. Pest management. Nope. Let's see. So this is a customized system to reduce crop and environmental damage with environmentally sensitive strategies of prevention, avoidance, monitoring, and suppression to manage plant pests. So producers use environmentally sensitive strategies such as scouting to identify or monitor, avoid or suppress insects, weeds, and diseases. And this helps by enhancing the quality and quantity of products so that you're not overusing pesticides or underusing pesticides, so that you're not continually, wasting fuel, going over the field over and over and creating more compaction to the soil. This has, a lot of benefits by putting together a pest management plan if you're doing a lot of spraying and treatments. Riparian forest buffers, that's one of the most famous ones in Lynn and Benton counties because it goes along with the Conservation Reserve Easement Program, the CREP program. And basically this is, the riparian forest buffer is an area directly adjacent to the stream, river, or lake that includes trees, shrubs, grass, or grass-like plants and forbs. The riparian area can be either native vegetation or managed improved vegetative species with this harvestable crops, but usually that's not the case with the Farm Service Agency program. There's no grazing allowed. You're actually fencing off this area, and it's strictly for wildlife habitat and regeneration of that site. Waste storage. So we do have some dairy operations and cattle operations, and you just want to be aware of, the manure buildup. So waste storage is a type of waste storage structure that depends upon the operation. Options include earthen storage ponds, above or below ground tanks, pits under confined facilities, or like a sheltered concrete slab area. And waste can be scraped and hauled or pumped. It can be pushed or flushed into the structure. And the purpose is to safely contain waste and keep nutrient loss and pollution from going downstream into water bodies, and then to minimize preventing runoff. So waste storage is temporary, and operators, plan to empty structures regularly. So you can incorporate that manure back into your fields by spreading it on the surface or injecting it into the ground. This also goes along with a comprehensive nutrient management plan, where you want to be doing soil samples to see, and manure samples to see how much to apply to your fields and when to apply it. So that one is a good conservation practice. Wetland restoration, this is one of my favorites. Installation or removal of practices in a drained or degraded wetland to restore water levels, hydric soil conditions, and wetland plants, and to improve habitat. There are a lot of drained wetlands in this area. The Willamette Valley used to, many years ago, maneuver back and forth throughout the Willamette Valley. And things have changed over time with creating dams and creating homes in urban areas. And so fields were drained and cropped for, fiber and all sorts of things. And so there are certain sites that are still, that you can take out of production, agricultural production, and put back into that wetland that was originally there. It is a long process to do that, but our agency actually helps financially and technically to do that if that is something you're looking forward to do. And so, this course is called Planning for Your Land, and I'm a conservationist, so I like to, it's called Conservation Planning for Your Land. And so here's some before and after photos. Here you have a site of where people are just storing manure right next to the barn, and then you have a feeding trough there. So with technical assistance, this site was cleaned up. A buffer grassed waterway was put in here, and then a drainage system was also applied so that it would keep the manure from going down the drainage system. And then here we have bare soil on like the pasture grazed area, and people would come in and plant trees and seed, and then the plants and life would come back into this riparian area. And so this is NRCS. So we can come out, we can help you do soil samples, soil testing, pretty much help you complete your plan for your land. And this is the Cadillac version. These dairy cows were, trampling all along this riparian area. And so to help this fish passage, we put in a fence line, and an access point with gravel so that the cows can come in and drink, but they're not trampling down the whole riparian area. And then you can see trees are planted here and lush grass is starting to come back. So there's different options. We work with the landowners, to come up with different plans that suit their needs. And then I wanted to showcase Lee Peterman and Shirley Joliffe. They are the Lynn County Tree Farmers of the Year, and NRCS did a success story as well on them. And the link is there. You can go in and read about their 80-acre property that they've just done some amazing things with. So I just wanted to showcase Lee. And then, yeah, I just want to say, thank you to all those farmers and tree farmers out there, and, keeping the, the supply chain going through COVID. So that's all I have.
Great. Thanks so much for that, Amy.